All right, I am 10 minutes late because I was on the beach and I didn't realize what time it was. Kind of got away from me. I apologize. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not on the beach. Uh, I was on a VIP Discord call and we were in a position, and we're just staring at the chart and I didn't realize what time it is. So I apologize. I wish I were on the beach, so I don't need my sunglasses. All right. Hey, and again, I do apologize. I'm late. I know I kept you all waiting. I shouldn't do that again. Um, I'm literally just slipped away. So Bitcoin. Are we going to get one more pump? Or are we going to go straight? Are we going to make a lower high and go down? That is the question. I'm going to change my background. I just wanted to come in with a decent excuse. This and do this. And again, I want to show you something, an EMA fill on the 15-minute time frame that's really cool. And we're going to go over that here in a little bit. But I want to put this on my chart before we start here. And we're going to be taking a look at this, and I'll show you how to use it. So, all right, is Bitcoin going to make another higher high and pump through up to the and above the weekly 10 EMA, above 23,000? Or are we forming a lower high and we're getting ready to tank down? Let's jump into these charts. I'm going to show you a pretty simple tool that you can use that aligns with another powerful EMA, but it essentially makes it fatter with color coding. Should help guide you on your crypto journey. So let's get these charts. All right, on my channel, I've been talking about using the 4-hour 10 EMA as just the best fit line. If price above, then short-term time frame bullish. If price below and using it as resistance, then short-term time frame bearish. And it's during out this whole accumulation phase after the big drop down to 17,500. It's been the best line to use. That gives you that exact signal. It's the one thing that is just so simple that has the best tracking history during this one consolidation area for short-term time frame direction. But there's another cool way to look at it. You can make it essentially fatter and color code it bullish or bearish, even though you can tell if it's getting resisted. Okay, it's bearish. But if you go like this, take that off. Actually, I'll leave it on so you can see how it overlays it. Boom. You got a nice fatter line and it's color coded. And so let's show you how to use that real quick. I'll pull up the indicator list, and as we're doing that, just make sure if you're not following me on Twitter, closest bear list with the number 2 afterward. I post some bomb charts for traditional markets, altcoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and links to Discord in the description section of my videos. And YouTube tiers, they get priority during the questions during the Q&A during these live chats, and there are other benefits such as the Cryptolian tier gets 15 to 30 market alerts a week, and the recordings of the Discord Cryptolian tier live chats. All right, and the Cryptolian workshop as well, recording of that as well. All right, the morning workshops. So here we go. This is using the I'm hovering over it right now. Moving average shaded fill area crossover. I've covered this on my channel with different EMAs before, different time frames, by A Ballard 11. All right. Click that, and then it'll populate over here. You click the you can't see behind me. Let's go over this way. Let's move myself. You click the gear, and I'm on the 15-minute chart. So the 200 and the 55, and then these are the fill colors right here. These two are the color of the line. Not that important. They could both be white technically, but I have green and red for the fill. For when the top, so when this one crosses below that one, it turns red, and when the faster one crosses above this one, it's green, right? And so you can see how the 4-hour 10 EMA. I'll flash it on and off so you can see. Boom. Can you see it flashing in there? Barely. I would have to reduce the opacity. So it's essentially the same line, and I just actually discovered this that it was the same. So it's a fatter version of it. And in general, it's the same thing, just to use the 4-hour 10 to determine, hey, are the 5-minute candles using it as support or resistance? So right now, you had a cross down, cross up. It's getting wishy-washy, but right now price is above it, and it's wicked down to use it as support once. Is it guaranteed it'll continue using it as support? Not really, because it's already crossed down once. It could float and then tank, right? It could really just sometimes one of the, how would I say this? One of the weaknesses of EMAs are compression moves, because the EMAs, depending on the time frame. So if you go down to a short enough time frame, they'll just all be squished, and you might as well take them off because it's not giving you any signals, right? When that happens, so there's a weakness to that. So this could fail us, by going sideways long enough and just squishing down. So there are situations where there's a weakness in using EMAs in general, and this EMA fill is based off EMAs. All right, so this isn't a foolproof way to trade, but it's pretty cool, and it helps you a little bit more visualize the 4-hour 10 and how candles interact with it. Thought I'd share that with you. Right now, what am I thinking? I'm thinking there's not a crazy awesome edge either way. I do have a target. It feels like Bitcoin at bare minimum, perhaps even before traditional markets open on Friday at 9:30 a.m. New York time. I feel that Bitcoin has a dang decent chance of at minimum hitting this line. Will it reverse from there and go down? I'm not saying that, but I just feel that this target is going to be hit, as opposed to going straight down from here. Is that guaranteed to happen? No, of course it's not. But I'm getting that feeling, because you have a lot of defense here. You have these EMAs, which is essentially the best fit line, plus you have a micro channel line here. So if we zoom out, you know what we're looking at. So the EMA is going to look different because I switched time frames. But this is the channel we're working with here. Micro channel going back to the middle of June, the low of the year. And prices above that line and this EMA. So you got a lot of defense there. So I would lean in micro time frames. I would lean a little bullish, not crazy bullish, but if I had to pick one which has slightly more probability than the other, I would say barely probability to the upside. Even if it breaks through here, it kind of feels that it would make some type of higher low at a 45-degree angle to this, something to this effect, and maybe a pullback overnight would be fine. Something to that effect. Pull back to here, and then I still feel as of now that as long as it keeps a higher low structure to this low, I still think it has a decent chance of hitting that line. Of course, if it comes all the way down here, do the chances of this happening? So that would be $23,700 Bitcoin. Does it reduce the chances of 23.7 Bitcoin or higher? Yes, it does. It does. But I would keep an eye out for that, right? I would definitely be less bullish if it were to come out here. It's not like, ooh, it's lower, I'm even more bullish. Not what I'm saying. Please don't interpret that. Like, I would not be more bullish because it went lower. Rather, I would be defensive there, or if I took a short, I'd be looking for it to bounce there and probably take profits around that area, because crypto loves 45-ish degree angles. Somebody got on to me in the comment section. You always talk about 45-degree angles, but you're drawing 30-degree angles. Well, maybe so, whatever. But roughly 45-degree angles, okay? And so right now, I don't feel a whole lot of short-term time frame edge. What's important to realize, though, is if you look at the 12-hour, so things start getting a little fuzzy here. I'm not on the 12-hour, but slightly larger time frames. Even the midterm time frames are starting to get a little fuzzy, a little bit less bullish here. Fuzzy meaning less clear. So the 12-hour still looks clearly bullish. It's bouncing. It's on its EMA like that, and it's making higher highs and higher lows. Like this is. So the 12-hour, if the 12-hour is still bullish, that means the daily and the 2-day are still good to go, right? And any crosses up that look like an initial move on the weekly, like the stochastics crossing up on the weekly, this supports the idea that this 12-hour RSI supports the idea that they will continue crossing up. It's not going to be a dud. Here, I'll just show you. So this chart right here, the 12-hour RSI, which is a great time frame to have. If you don't have paid for Tradingview and you can't get the 12-hour chart, it kind of stinks. Using the mixture of the daily and the 4-hour, kind of mixing those two together in your mind. But the 12-hour, that's what that does. I think it's a really pretty chart because of that. So this supports the idea that, so go to the weekly and go to the Stokes. The Stokes are crossing up, and they're trying to leave the bearish zone. And the 12-hour chart, for the moment, is supporting the idea that it will bust out of the bearish zone, and that you're going to get continuation for a couple weeks. It's still being supported, but in the recent past, a time frame in the middle, like the 4-hour, was also supporting that, and now it's not. The 4-hour is no longer supporting that, but the larger time frames all in concert, 12-hour, daily, 2-day, 5-day, weekly, if those are in concert, it can easily overpower the 4-hour and lower charts in form of a higher low and a pullback before continuation to the upside. But I want to make it known that as of recently, the 4-hour chart was also supporting it, and now it lost its vote. So the higher time frames lost the 4-hour vote. Does that make sense? So yeah, it's almost like a democracy, really. I mean, if you have the 1-hour, voting yes, 4-hour voting yes, 12-hour voting yes, daily vote, everybody votes yes, then the answer is yes. Like, it's going that way, right? That's essentially how it is. That's another way to visualize agreement among the time frames. Just look at, like, they're literally voting, right? So the 4 hours now voting bearish, but it doesn't mean the final tally will be bearish. But things are changing, and how I interpret that is just be more cautious, be less confident in your trade. And what does that mean? If clicking around with your money, it means take on smaller position sizes. Don't trade aggressively, because your edge is worse by default. Your edge is worse. When you have less agreement among the time frames, by default, your edge is worse. That's all it means. And part of risk management, is your entry size. That is a form of risk management, absolutely. And that's all this is saying. Does it mean be extra cautious or don't trade totally at all? I mean, depending on your style, it's close to that point. I mean, I'm about at that point where I just would prefer wait till market open tomorrow and trade with the volatility of the open. If I get stopped out of what I'm in now, I will. I'll just be done until about 8:30 New York in the morning, and we'll do the futures workshop on Discord for VIPs bright and early, 8 a.m. Wednesday through Friday, and the Cryptillion tier on Discord are welcome on those futures workshops to hunt for early morning volatility positions on Wednesdays 8 a.m. So I do that 8 a.m. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday every week for Discord. All right, so that is my analysis. Things are leaning bullish on the higher time frames, but the smaller time frames, they're kind of saying, yeah, we're losing our vote. And the micro time frames, though, they're saying, it looks like it might want to give one more push up. So if the micro time frames do push up the 4-hour, what would that mean? It could mean that the 4-hour side just hits this green line. It's rejected. It could be what that means. The first lower high of the 4-hour. But I still don't think, even at the exact moment that were to happen, the green hit that, I don't know. I don't think that means the bullet. I don't think the bulls get the 4-hour vote. If it breaks into there, yeah, sure. Especially if it breaks that high, yeah, okay. The votes 4 hours now voting bullish, but even at the moment it gets there, even before rejection, I still don't think the bulls have the 4-hour vote quite at that time, because it's just too probable that this is what. So there could be another, and that would probably take Bitcoin up to that 23.7 level if this were to happen. And if I had to make one single guess. Depending on how low this goes, I think you're going to have one more spike up to you, at minimum. At minimum. And so that's what I got for the Bitcoin analysis. And remember the implications. I know it sucks to come on here and say, oh, he doesn't know. Like, it's low probability, trading. Yeah, it's not sexy, but there are huge implications. And I'm telling you, like, in your trading journey, some of the most losses you're going to take over time is when you're trading confidently without an edge. It really is, and I'm guilty of it. It happens to me a lot, and I have to look back and analyze what the hell, like how did I go on this streak, and how did I get myself in the situation, or what's going on when I'm trying to zoom out and analyze. That's often it. I was trading. I did not manage my risk with my entry sizes. I was and I did not identify my crappy edge. And I traded as if I did have one. So the implications of an unsexy analysis, like it could go either way, it's huge implications for your wallet. I promise, and I will probably repeat this over and over and over throughout the next couple years or whatever, because it's totally true, and it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. All right, so that's Bitcoin for you. Could go up, could go down, could go sideways, but at least you have that EMA fill. So the 15-minute 55 and 200 crossing, you can. So right now price is going below it, and that might flip me if this candle closes below here. I mean, I would probably flip I think the micro time frames would then flip back bearish, and these would pull the 4-hour down, and then the 4-hour vote is totally like like double thumbs up for bears really, and that could begin to cascade to at least make a higher low down here, and that higher low area at a 45-degree angle from here, it could be somewhere around 22.6. 22.6 would be a decent higher low area. But that, again, that doesn't make me bullish just because it hits there, right? I would be expecting a potential bounce. That's just where I would see a possible bounce. All right, so that is your Bitcoin analysis, both upper targets, lower targets, and then how that could affect your behavior in a healthy way. Trading behavior. Okay, here we go. So that's Bitcoin. Let's move on to the questions. Craig K, good morning. So you are maybe in the Pacific Ocean, somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. It's morning for you, like Australia or something. All right, what altcoins are you guys into, Craig? So that's a better question than what you might think. I'm not into any altcoins right now, really, because I don't think Bitcoin's had a bottom, and it's just way too early to really take altcoin, especially micro caps, small caps and micro caps seriously right now for hunting. Looks like I just perfectly got stopped out and I might turn back around. Son of a bitch. So much for being 10 minutes late. I had a tight stop though, so it's okay. But right, let me show you why that is my answer. It's a little premature to really be concentrating on altcoins for an investment hodl standpoint. And that's how I'm interpreting your question. So let's look at a low and a higher low on Bitcoin last bear market, right? So late 2018, and then over a year later, March 2020. Okay, higher low on Bitcoin, way over a year. So just focus on what I'm doing here. Way over a year, almost 500 days later, right? Last bear market. This is Bitcoin. Now go to, I'm not picking on Cardano. This was true of pretty much everything. Maybe even Ethereum. Maybe not Ethereum, but everything besides Ethereum. So those same dates. Same dates. What was it 457 days later? Look, 460 right there. Same lows, same dates. They made a lower low. So from an investing hodl standpoint, even for large layer ones, with the assumption that Bitcoin hasn't made a bottom yet, and altcoins bottom likely an entire year plus after Bitcoin bottoms. So they bottom typically when Bitcoin makes its first macro high or low. And it's likely going to, is it guaranteed to happen? Could it just be off to the races? Maybe. And in 2018, it technically was. It went from 3,200 to 14K and then made a higher low. I don't think that's going to happen again, but it could. Go straight up to like 55K and then back down to 20 if the low is like 14 or 9 or something in this bear market. But from a timing perspective, if you haven't even gotten to this line yet for altcoins or even Bitcoin, and you're going to have all that time regardless, why even worry about them? You got a lot of time before you start thinking about altcoins from an investment standpoint. Now, from a trading standpoint, what's the hottest thing to trade? Well, Matic and Curve and AVAX are the hottest to the upside among the coins I look at. So that's a fair question if you're clicking around actively, but not from just a buying and holding standpoint. No way. So from a buying and holding standpoint, I only have one altcoin that I'm truly worried about, and it's on my head. It's Dash, and because it's a monetary coin, and it's not a business that can go under in a bear market. So it's a form of money. It's not a business that masquerades its coin for an ecosystem lubrication, right? To make it's a form of money. It's not a business behind it. And getting through the bear market. Do I think it's going to go on a 300x run, the biggest thing next bull market? No. I just would like to accumulate it because I think it's got among the high, it's an extremely high chance of being around next time. So I'm only accumulating, doing what I call accumulation trading for. And in a nutshell, what that means is I'm trading it on spot, and I'm trying to sell on bear market rallies up and then buy back lower. Maybe not a new lower low, but just lower to accumulate dash for itself. And as I've over doubled my dash since I started this in February or something of this year. So I've more than doubled it. But the value of it after I doubled it is still lower. So the US dollar value of my double dash is still lower than what the US dollar was before when I started, right? So you don't want to do that strategy like for your whole portfolio, obviously, but I chose a section of my portfolio to trade because dash is sufficiently volatile and it's sufficiently predictable because it moves pretty much with Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin has some spikes up that are just like scam wicks or this and that, dash doesn't have that quite as much. It doesn't translate to dash. So it's I feel even more predictable Bitcoin because it moves like Bitcoin without those 1 and 3 minute just ridiculousness that occasionally happens on Bitcoin. It's twice a week. So that's my long answer to that. But that is an important point. All right. It's been nice to see you on here, Craig. All right. Does Tim have no OTA? I was stuck on I wasn't stuck. I was just zoned in on a VIP call on Discord, and I looked down at 610. I was like, shit. That's exactly what happened. That's probably exactly how I said it. Shit, like that. What prediction do you have? So Craig is asking, what prediction do you have for that coin if BTC hits 40K? Oh, he's asking Jonathan. Hey Tim, hey Andre Care, how you doing? How high can Secret and B Pro move before heading down? All right, so Andre's asking about B Pro. So let's go take a look. If Bitcoin were to hit how high? Oh, before they just head down. Okay, well we're gonna have to make a couple of guesses here, just depending on how high Bitcoin goes, right? So let's get B Pro on the charts here. Zoom in. All right. If Bitcoin were to break the current micro channel and reach about 25K, I could see B Pro getting up to these candle bodies here, that wick. So I could see B Pro getting up to here. Double O 174. 00175. Yeah, 00175. So it's an if-then statement. If BTC, let's say 23 to 25K, then B Pro around 00175. If BTC is done running, then B Pro down from here. So these two extremities highlight what is most probable. Could B Pro go over here and Bitcoin goes up to 28K? Yes, but from here to here and everything that could happen in between. So Bitcoin only makes a slightly higher high and it gets rejected by the weekly 10 at 22,900, something to that effect. B Pro could do something in the middle, right? But I think this encapsulates roughly an 80% likelihood from here, like from these extremities and in between, would be how I answer. Is there room for more upside than that? Yeah, but I would probably put that as a 20% chance or less at this time. And of course, the higher price goes, the greater and greater that chance becomes automatically, right? If Bitcoin keeps charging up, well, then that it slightly becomes more probable. But as of now, I would put only a 20% chance of higher than that. But there is still space for it. 20% is not, it's not crazy low. Now, if you had a 20% survival rate, okay, that's a different story. It feels pretty low. But, hell, even like 60% would be pretty low, right? If you're going on an operating table, again, you got a 60% chance. All right, let's do it. That would not be great. But in this, in this setting, 20% is still a chunk, but 80% is much larger. So that's how I would answer on BPRO. Yeah, so 00715 is probably a pretty darn good target for a bear market rally. Let's see if that aligns though. Let me double test myself. 68% from low and Bitcoin. $50. Yeah, that would make sense. Because on sustained rallies, altcoins, even microcaps, they have the ability to easily, for a small moment, outperform Bitcoin. But not on small rallies. So, for example, from bottom to here, small altcoins typically would not outperform Bitcoin. But since you've had higher low, higher high, higher low, higher low, another higher high, I would call this a more sustained rally, and BPRO could then make up for it at the end. As folks take profits on larger caps and Bitcoin and maybe pump it into small caps, that effect does happen. So that would be my answer for BPRO, how high it could go in this rally, and the lines and levels that you want to look out for. Secret. Made a higher high. Oh no, that's on Bitcoin stop. Wow, this really aggressively went down. Wow, that looks like it went down 85% from there. Yeah, it's 80. Wow, that was a good guess. 87%. Do the same thing. If BTC 23 to 25K, then secret around one. So I'm going to put a tilde there. Or no, that's in Spanish. What's that called? That's called a tilde in Spanish. Is that what it's called in English too? I don't think that. No, that's Spanish. Gosh, I don't even know what the English word is for it is. But anyway, so around in math, science, you're kind of not taking a formal test. You can put around $1.72. I don't see it going a lot higher than that, because that's going to be a pretty big resistance point, and it could come up shy of there. But if it does get up there and you're holding on to this stuff, I mean, and you're trying to accumulate it on spot, like that would be a good time to sell into if I were to hold it, I would consider that a good area to sell into a bear market rally. You don't have to agree with that, because I'm not a financial advisor and I'm giving you financial advice. We are absolutely talking about just normal secrets and Pokemon card secrets too. And let's move on to the next one. Hey Tim, how high would S-Fund? That's not one question, OTA. I don't know if I can get through all that. All right, let's just do it fast. Okay. S-Fund. Ooh. S-Fund is a little bit different. Man, so it's already back up to an equivalent of Bitcoin, like 30K. Kind of like what is it? Curve's up here too. Wow. This is actually an impressive run. This is aggressive. Wow. But it did have a nasty, nasty fall. My goodness. It's pretty nasty. This one could really blow up. I would say looking left, so there are no wicks here. And it's already getting ready to break above here. So if Bitcoin goes up another leg, there's nothing stopping it until that wick down. So, and let me zoom in. I'm on the daily chart. That daily wick right there is the first set of resistance. So just put a bottom corner of a rectangle there and go up to the next wick, and boom. This is probably where it'll jump to. That'd be another big move up, but there's nothing stopping it. And therefore the order book naturally, would be a little thinner there, and people hitting market buy, it'll go up pretty fast. And the reason I say that because there's nothing to look at here. Therefore, there aren't going to be different sets of not necessarily traders. Well, I guess people trading. They're not going to be multiple groups of people seeing something there for different reasons. There probably isn't much to see. Therefore, there aren't going to be a lot of people taking profits in that area and creating sell pressure. So this one would have a pretty big rip up. This one is actually a pretty good one. It'd be another 33% or a little higher. It looks like it needs a damn pullback, but I mean, this is straight up, straight down type of stuff. So it does. I mean, this one doesn't really follow the greatest rules. Yeah, that's right. So if Bitcoin 23 to 25K, secret at $2.50. Trias. Uh-oh. That's no good. OIN is done for. Well, that was one of the few altcoins I just said screw it and I held on to, but I guess it's now done. It must have gone with Luna. That sucks. I didn't notice that until now. So there's a couple thousand $21 gone. It appears. And that's why I don't hold many altcoins through a bear market. Actually, it's one of the only ones I held the whole way. Maybe the only one. Interesting. All right, so Trias. How high would Trias go if Bitcoin hits around the next target around 23 to 25K? All right. Well, this is not looking horrible. It's out of its channel, so we're gonna have to do this guy here. So I'm aligning this rotated rectangle with that wick and the high. Make sure it's parallel for the point of control. It's like all those. So it looks like all these tops over here were getting rejected by the point of control. Rejected. A lot of times the point of control is created by the moves, like just all the tops of, are created by the tops essentially of this, but it is fairly common that if you see a string like that, it is the bottom of the point of control, and then price finally filtered back into it here. You usually get a decent amount of trading volume on a percentage basis in a point of control, but I didn't start doing it until here. All right, so this is the more true range. And we can go like this if we want to make it look fancy and nice and get your sexy channels on here. And you could copy what I'm doing. I actually kind of suggest you do it if you're paying attention to Trias. You might only need one line between instead of two. It's not looking that bad. All right. Now let's go to the 15-minute chart. That makes sense right there. $1.64. And if it takes a while to get there, it could be a little lower, $1.60. But I would say if Bitcoin continues tomorrow-ish, yeah, $1.62, something like that. And that's under the conditions that Bitcoin rallies up and gets a little bit above its weekly 10, which is right under 23K, and Bitcoin pops on top of it. There's a resistance just above it, about 23.5 from a wick down in previous structure. And if that were to happen, so anywhere between 23 25K, I think Trias is going to play with that line. So what could happen there is really you could just get a flat up rejection. But that's not always how it plays out. So you get a rejection, back down. Bitcoin were to head down after that. but it actually might be what happens. But there are other ways it could play with it. Up here, rejected, pull back, failure pattern, then start getting rejected by it slowly. So it could overshoot it a little bit, go up to $1.71. So a rejection, then zoom in. So this would be a rejection failure pattern essentially, or it could race above it and do a failure rejection pattern. So just vice versa, what I just said. And Ethereum does do this a lot on its trading channels. It'll go above it, failure, and then just ride down, slide until it falls off the cliff of support from previous structure like this. Happens a lot on it. Let me show you. So this is an option too. And so it just rides down that line until it goes below this line. It goes straight down. Like one of my videos where I had it all edited with music. Boom, boom, bada bing, straight down. Yeah, but that's how it would feel. That's actually a pretty good scenario. Or you could get just several rejections and then it does that. But you could get rejection and bounce around until you fall off that cliff. That might be about what happens. So between $1.60 to $1.70, it's a failure pattern on Trias. Let's see what a best fit line is on Trias. Let's see if this 4-hour 10 works on this as well. Nope, it's a little too sloppy. Let's try. So that means this won't work. Trias is falling in a bigger EMA. Is it falling? It's following this. What is this? Daily 10. So Trias is following your daily 10 EMA. Interesting. So yeah, the daily 10, and I'm on the 15-minute chart. Hell, I can go to the 5-minute chart, right? But it's trading decisions on this. Whoever's trading it, bots, I don't know. It's probably not professional bots, but a lot of the programming all together. If you can mix what's happening and all together, really the best fit line is the daily 10. You can see how the 5-minute candles are interacting with it, and you can see purchasing decisions based off of it. So if you're into Trias, I mean, as long as it's above the daily 10 and not using as resistance, you can assume that there's a slightly better chance than anything that it's going to continue going up. And that's your base rule. And once it gets below there, once it gets below, yeah, your probabilities flip. Like they're not flipping; they get a little less, but you have to come up and use it as resistance. Then tick down. That's when your probabilities flip to the downside, right? Then, if it goes below and comes up at the daily 10 and hesitates, yeah, you might be 50-50. So that'd be a time where, maybe entering a trade isn't the greatest thing. Let's wait for some resolution on there. But once it ticks down after rejection, you would instantly flip bearish on there. And yeah, daily 10 looks like a solid line to use on Trias right now. All right, and then you asked for Near and Matic. All right, let's get this. Did I say I was going to do these fast? Am I doing these fast? I don't think I am. All right, let's take a look at Near Protocol. I think it's been pretty hot recently, and I've drawn some lines from previous videos, and let's see how my lines are holding up. So I'll take off this EMA, and it's right at the top of its channel. How macro is this channel? It goes all the way back to April of this year. It's a midterm time frame channel, I would call this. So let me look at it here. But it goes all the way to the top. So structurally, this is a macro channel. Man, this looks like it wants to get rejected. And it is possible, just like a lot of altcoins, the macro channel from its top, this truly hits the bottom of the point of control, and this line technically shouldn't be here because I have this too small. Does that make sense? So I'm anticipating that, honestly, if Bitcoin goes up, I can probably anticipate where this is going. And it's similar on the live chat. Even though if you're watching the recording of this, you're not going to see it, but I just did a coin where I mapped it out, and same area here at a November high, these were hitting the bottom of the point of control. So I'm going to move this around and get some upper targets from that. So let's go like this. So under these parameters, and you got a nice fat horizontal here, that's going to be resistance, and here. So if Bitcoin keeps charging up, gosh, I could see this. I could see it hitting the intersection of this yellow line with that line. That'd be a big pop. Bitcoin would really have to start moving and getting up to 23K, but I think that'd be where it goes. I bet it would hit somewhere close to this triangle here, and that's if. So I'm not saying that this is the most probable thing as of right now, but if Bitcoin were to keep charging up, which was the question, I think somewhere around $6.38 for near would be a pretty darn good target. Under the condition, Bitcoin has another higher local high, which is not a guaranteed thing. And if you want me to zoom out so you can see these trading channels, or the new trading channel, there you go. You can pause the video and make your lines according to, or just as best as you can. And Matic. All right. All right, we're going to take a look at Matic price and get some upper targets if Bitcoin were to hit 23 to 25, and if Bitcoin turns around now, what we're going to look for in the charts. Okay, let's zoom out a bit here. It's hitting an origin line. Golly, this is aggressive. This is the equivalent of almost 40K Bitcoin, because right here, this is the equivalent of 31K Bitcoin. The structure, it's the same thing, right? Bitcoin is right. I mean, Bitcoin's down here right now. This is structurally very, very aggressive. It's going to be harder to analyze this. Because, I mean, this Disney rally or whatever people are calling it, I mean, if Bitcoin continues up, like this could be one that simply is done rallying. I mean, that origin line is pretty tough, and it's already pretty overheated. So keep that in mind. Am I saying that's the most probable case if Bitcoin goes up? No, but I would try to draw, even though you don't have the same origin lines, but just try to draw a line through May, this area here, and to current price. The wick on, so go to the, like something like the 4-hour chart. Make it look like this at this slope. Going through those candles back from May 13th and connecting to the, just barely under the tops, oh, you can't see, barely under the tops of the wicks here. So I would say, I think Matic has a chance to continue getting rejected from there and just kind of like doing, actually, it could just do this as Bitcoin. So it could squeak out higher high after higher high, barely, by hitting its head. Honestly, that might be what's going to happen. I don't see much more of an aggressive move. But if it were to break above there as Bitcoin goes up, it would. Well, it's got some immediate overhead rejection. I mean, it's a little overextended, and it's got some. That's going to be tough to get over. Boy, but that's at the same level, I guess. So that would give more evidence that something like this is about ready to happen. And a lot of coins move like this on origin lines and squeaked out, like Luna. So like when it was up at $100 and all that stuff, it was just boom, boom, like for months, for almost the entire last bit of the bull run that went through November. That's all it did. I would say that's my first guess. So it would squeak out higher highs, but it's not going much over $1.07. If it were to break above this horizontal, though, I mean, it's probably going up to $1.30. Let's see here. Zoom out. I don't really see that happening though. But if it were to break above about $1.07 or so, or $1.03, around that, it would be able to scream right up to $1.30. That would be the next pit stop. Now, something to look out for though, if Bitcoin really is heading back down here and it's done, then this is going to have, just be aware that, I mean, look, that's a long way. And these lines work. Will it have bounces from here to there? Yeah, but I mean that's a big move. It's 30% down. So what goes up must come down. It'll have so even if Bitcoin doesn't have that big of a pullback, the pullback on this, it could be pretty big. Is it guaranteed to hit there? No, because it got rejected from this line as it's going up. Had it come from above, had price been falling, kind of like this actually, had price been falling and then got rejected from it, yeah, the rules state that you can't go back over this line until you touch that line first. If you're falling, then get rejected, the rules are you just touch the line. That's the way it works. And is it guaranteed? No, but it's a damn high probability. So because it's approaching this and getting rejected in an up move, it doesn't have to hit that line, but I would keep that in mind. That would be way down at 66 cents. 65, 66 cents. So be wary of that, especially if you're buying up here. I mean, you could find yourself at a spot trade, pretty big loss there, even without pissing around with futures. I'm not giving a short signal either, because I think it could keep squeaking out higher high after higher high after higher high, bumping its head on this origin line. Because it's overextended, and even if Bitcoin keeps going up, I think it's going to have trouble getting over $1.03 to $1.07 range, I think. But it could squeak out multiple higher highs, but staying under $1.07. As it does each 2 to 3 more higher local highs if that were to happen. So yeah, Matic's kind of a cool case. There might not be another altcoin or asset out there that is the equivalent to like 38, 37K Bitcoin, because this is 31K Bitcoin, the structure here, right? So right here, that's where this is. That's 31K Bitcoin. Matic is like up here, about 35, 36. Like it's way above this structure, and so that is bumping its head on that origin line is my best guess if we're going to get some continuation on Bitcoin. The range being $1.03 to $1.07. All right. Okay, OTA. I answered all your questions because you asked about coins that I like to record, publish later on a Friday, so I can be a little lazier on Fridays. So I covered all those. But that was a hell of a lot of questions, man. All right. I was looking at, so OTA, one more question. All right. I was looking at the weekly, not sure if, so I was looking at the weekly chart on BTC and the 10 EMA crossed the 200. Could this have any effect on the HTF? All right. Well, let's look at those on the hourly chart at the same EMAs. So you said the weekly 10 and 200. That is bad. All right, let's zoom out. That's called the lows of every bear market, which is pretty similar to my Kosa long ribbons on the daily. Like it's essentially it's a bottom signal. So this honestly, if you so in general, if you have one time frame like an hourly or a 4 hour, doesn't matter, pick any time frame that you use. If you have a fast moving EMA cross below a slower moving EMA or a smaller number crossing below the bigger number, it's a bearish cross. So yes, it's bearish in that context. But if you look back historically, all the Bitcoin bottoms are marked by this same cross. That was it. Once it crosses, whatever low had just recently happened, that was it. But there are only 2 iterations of that. And so I'm not saying that's bottom because of this. However, it is a bottom signal. If the context of the traditional market, so stocks in the global economy, were the same as it was, Yeah, I would be calling bottom too, because honestly, a lot of bottom signals are firing off with good reason right now. A lot of them. My main one is firing off. It's saying bottom, but I feel that the context of the global economy is so drastically different than those signals happening previously in previous bear markets. So 4 and 8, roughly 4 and 8 years ago, whatever. That it's not going to signal the bottom. That it's not done because the last so Bitcoin was born as the global, or especially the U.S. economy, was ripping up and through out of the deep recession of 2008. So the stocks and everything, and policy. I don't know if it was tax cuts at the time to get the government to get the economy going, but the stock market started racing up, and since 2009, literally every correction in traditional market has been V-shaped. Every one, besides what's happening now. So yeah, I'm giving you 3 answers, and you gotta choose which one you think is most likely. In general, it's a bearish cross because it's a faster moving EMA going below a larger EMA, slower moving EMA. You zoom out, it's a bottom signal. But if you look at the context while zooming out, yeah, it's a bottom signal, but the context is saying that signal ain't gonna work. And that would be my full-on answer for that. That's a good question, and those are powerful EMAs. I mean, weekly 10, it's like the number 1 EMA to use in crypto or traditional markets. It's huge. It's a big deal. And then the 200 is just a massive bear market EMA. It could have big implications. All right. But a lot of times price is sucked into those crosses. So if price is, let's go. So a lot of you heard me say, when 2 important lines cross, price has the tendency to get sucked into it. There you go. So it could be essentially creating this bear market rally because the price is being sucked into 2 important lines crossing. But if price were way above, somehow like it went down here and went above, and then this were to cross, well, price would get sucked down to it. So if price were above it, it would get sucked down into it. Any super important EMA crosses like that as well. So it has the effect both ways, and that could be kind of what's happening here. That would be a pretty good target. That's right at this wick too. I mean, that is one. Yeah, that is one of my targets. Oh, that's a little higher than my target. That's 26. So 26 really isn't on my radar, but it really should be because that's a big EMA. Try a short term. Yeah, so try a short term. As long as it's above its daily 10, I think it's got a decent edge to the upside. Just throw on the daily 10 using the MTF EMA indicator and look at it on the 5-minute chart. And you could have the daily 10 EMA with very small candles, so you can really see how the candles are interacting or dancing with or getting its, using as resistance or using as support. And it's above. Trias is above its daily 10, well above, and it's making higher lows, higher highs, so it looks like it's going to go up to that point I gave in that channel. A lot of people asking about Trias. As I just joined your channel, I wish to know. So Craig K, I wish to know what are your 2 best profitable altcoins for approximately 6 months after the bottom is in. Okay, so that's another good question. All right. Not considering Ethereum and altcoin, though, in this answer. Ethereum would be an answer, but I don't consider that an altcoin. The answer is whatever altcoin will be a first mover. Only first movers are going to be highly profitable on Bitcoin's ultimate final low. And those first movers means people who are convinced that's a crypto low, they feel comfortable enough in large quantities. So people making this independent choice, if they think Bitcoin's at a low, they're comfortable enough buying that project. And it would be a first mover, and it would make its lowest low with Bitcoin. Very few altcoins will. Not even Cardano could last time, and it was the love child of YouTube. I mean, even through the bear market, people were like all about Cardano. Craziness, as they were down 98%. It's just unbelievable. But Cardano, this bear market is a lot better. So I can't give it the same shit. But so far. How do you find what would be a first mover? Whatever's pumping the hardest during this bear market rally. And it's not off of news like Disney. So Matic, yeah, it's pumping hard, but it's off of decent news. Could that be more evidence that it's going to be a first mover? Maybe. But it would make me a little bit more skeptical. Buy the news, or whatever, sell the rumor. Or no, buy the rumor, sell the news, whatever. It could just sell off and lose the whole thing because it was based off that one flare of news and it's all gone. I don't think that is... I don't envision that as sustainable, but it's possible that Matic would have done very well, not quite as well, but very, very well without that news. And that is a possibility. So I can't undercut it too much, but I'm going to undercut a little bit because it had news off that. But freaking Curve, I don't think it has news associated with it, and it is just, it's like, it's at the equivalent of 31K Bitcoin right now structurally. It's up here on this structure, essentially. It's up here. That's where Curve is structurally. It's on it. If you look left, it's on the, before it fell, it's up there where it fell. So anything right now that is having a strong bear market rally and is structurally looking left at this level or higher, not off news, I think that's the answer. And that would, you can just scan the charts. What is doing that? Structurally the equivalent of 3K Bitcoin right now. And I think that's your best bet for Curve. Looks like a really good one. KDA doesn't, oddly. Everybody, retail all about KDA, but bigger money that's moving this stuff, bigger money's not, they're not buying KDA. But retail sentiment, is really high on it. But yeah, I don't hear people freaking out about Curve, but it's racing up more than anything without news. So that means it feels like bigger money's buying it. I don't know. I don't even know what Curve does. I just can tell in the chart it's doing something right, and bigger money is interested in it. It ain't just retail pushing that up. But I'm not just saying Curve only because I don't even know about it. I don't even own any, right? I just got my butt kicked trying to short it once. Like, true story. It just raced. Oh my God. But that's my answer. So do some hunting. Just look at what's structurally really bullish right now. Any hope for VRA? Yeah, I mean, my video, I was only making you aware of claims of FUD of other people. I don't know if that FUD's true. I didn't dissect the chart, but a lot of people, there seemed to be a decent amount of consensus that it wasn't good, despite VRA's project like marketing it as, oh, great news. I think I read the beginning. It's like, oh, great news. But I don't know if it was great news. They could have just started off. So the sentiment of anybody reading, okay, what's the new tokenomics? Great news. Well, okay, my mind is in the momentum of this is good. So I'm more likely to be biased that this is great news, right? Who knows? But maybe it really was great news. I don't know. I did not take the time, and nor do I care to in a bear market, about new tokenomics of an altcoin. So I don't discount VRA just because there seemed to be a lot of people comment. I let you know that was happening without confirming the FUD because I don't know. I thought I was really clear in that video, but I got a lot of VRA hate. That was weird. I thought I was clear. These are not my thoughts, and I am not confirmed. I thought I said all that, but anyway. Yeah, VRA is structurally still okay. Let's take this off. I mean, it hasn't even hit my bear market target. So here's one way to look at it. Here's one way to look at VRA and the idea that, oh, is there any hope for VRA, which was the question. Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think of it this way. So I let folks know that VRA could easily come down to this area before anybody on YouTube tried to get newer people to imagine that, right? You can't find a single video where somebody was talking about that before. I made it back here after that. The point of this is I made similar boxes and bear market targets using similar methods on a lot of altcoins. And maybe half or more of those altcoins have gone below that bear market target, way below some of them. And VRA came up just shy. So from that strict perspective, VRA ain't doing that bad for a smallish cap, mid-small cap in a bear market. It's structurally okay. Because some of those coins that I made bear market targets for include not Luna, but they include was it Matic? Even XRP went below my original target. Some bigger names have gone below it, and VRA hasn't. So yeah, I mean, I think there is hope, and given that it hasn't hit that, means from the standpoint of the company, they're not selling their coins in mass. The founders aren't, to keep the business afloat. They're not the founders or whoever has a lot of the coins, on insiders of that company. They're not dumping in excess, at least, on their investors to keep their business afloat, which is what every new project in 2018 had to do to stay afloat. They literally just dumped on their investors because they had no revenue. They weren't a real business. They just had a plan on a white paper. No revenue, right? And so that's actually, and so with that, VRA is doing something right from a business, newer. So it's a newer business, and it's not doing something that a lot of altcoins had to do last time and or this time as well, stay afloat. So I think structurally the evidence is in the charts. VRA is doing just fine. And in my last video, I simply wanted to shed light on what seemed like some type of consensus, not a majority, but there were enough people saying the same thing. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. But yeah, structurally, there's absolutely hope for veracity for all those reasons combined. So I personally wasn't fudding on it, and I apologize, that so many people did perceive that I was doing that, but that was absolutely not my intent. Really, perception is what matters. So I could sit here all day and defend myself, but I created that perception, so I do apologize for that. I should have managed that thought process a little bit with a little bit more tact and clarity. Okay. So non-community member, I've gotten through all the community member questions. You mentioned how alts take longer to bottom after BTC. Would you recommend getting into large caps like AVAX to secure the early pump and then getting into alts? Yes, exactly. Okay, so accumulator, your question is literally kind of the things that we plan when Bitcoin's not doing much. We sit there and kind of plan bear market strategy. Exactly. You nailed it. That's literally what you want to do. You want to guess you want to take an educated guess on what alts will be a first mover. Around where you think Bitcoin is at a bottom and you're convinced it's a bottom, it's, even if you like some small cap, like let's say VRA better, if you want more VRA, for example, I probably shouldn't use VRA. Let me choose a different coin. Okay. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say Solana. There you go. Let's say Solana is not going to be a first mover, even though it actually has a good chance of being one. But if you identify that Solana is not going to be a first mover, but something else will, let's say AVAX, but you really want Solana more than anything. If you want more Solana, you won't get that at a Bitcoin low, but rather you'll get an altcoin where you think it's going to be a first mover. Sell into a 200 to 400% rally, something like that. So sell into it, then you're holding tether, wait for some type of large mid macro pullback, not on a 4-hour chart, but like real pullback, and it could take a year, and then pick that Solana up now that you have more tether to buy it with, because you chose a first mover first. You'll have more Solana. If it, under the hypothetical scenario that Solana is not a first mover, and again, which it might be, but for example purposes only. I'm not shitting on Solana. I'm not saying Solana won't do well after Bitcoin bottoms. It's an example. So if Solana weren't a first mover and that's what your process was, but you want more of it anyway, you'll get more Solana if you went into a first mover like AVAX first, sold into the rally, waited for a macro pullback, and got your Solana with that more money at a lower price, and you have way more Solana because it's lower in price, and you have more Tether to buy it with. So it's like double compound, like a compounding effect. Absolutely. And so so accumulator, since you asked that, I really wasn't explaining that to you because you have clearly thought that through enough to ask that question. Yes, I can verify that is a great idea, but I was going into depth on that. It is a good game, and I wasn't planning on saying this stuff on YouTube. But the trick is, it doesn't make it easy. I've had the last bear to bull market cycle. I did a lot of my personal research on in guessing what would go up, what would be a first mover, and I was wrong. It's not easy. So I wouldn't just guess one. I would probably guess 3 different first movers. And as long as one really is a first mover, then you're doing okay. If you split your bets, between them. I wouldn't separate it into 10 different ones because then you're going to get yourself into, it's just hard to manage that. But I would make a few guesses. Sure. Kind of even splits between them if more than 2. Do you believe that a $10 Solana is a risky investment? Is it better to wait until it rallies up over 30? $10 Solana is kind of my target, man. Look. Yeah, I'm planning on blindly buying some at that level. Absolutely. I think that from a long-term perspective, could it go down 50% more and hit $5? Sure. But you said long-term. I think long-term that you're going to look back and say, damn, I'm glad I bought it $12. I think there's a decent chance that were to happen. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Solana poke. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would rather buy Solana at $10 than over 30, right? And that's a macro perspective. What I'm saying isn't true in midterm timeframes and short-term timeframes because I actually give other people crap about not understanding that concept. But in very macro terms, that is a great guess for a good DCA level for Solana. If I had $10,000 in general, so I had the goal. I have $10K that I want to throw at Solana at some point. But I do all $10K at $10 to $12? No. But I maybe do around half. I would do a strong DCA at that level. Do all of it, and I wouldn't do more than half of the overall dollar amount that I wanted. But I would hit it with a strong DCA at that level, and that's my personal opinion, not financial advice to you. I'm planning on trying to pick up Solana at $12, even though the FUD on the street, and there is maybe not a majority, but there is some type of minority consensus that it's a centralized pile of trash. That's what people say. I don't say that. I'm not making that claim about Solana. There are many people who believe that. Okay, Solana fans, so don't give me shit. My beliefs. A lot of people who believe it. And even despite that, in light of that, I still plan to DC at this level for sure. I think it has a good chance of being a first move. Solana. So if I can change topics, Solana. What I really think is I think Solana has a good chance. Even though it is a little more centralized, but hell, so is XRP Ripple. Even though it didn't really have a bull market this year, which doesn't play that much, but the war on decentralization versus centralization on layer ones has not been won yet. It's only speculation. Now, on monetary coins, forms of money, I think there's pretty strong evidence why centralization. The entire point of Bitcoin is not be centralized, right? But Solana's not a form of money. It's just trying to be a company on a new stock market. That's all it is. To get investors. That's all it is. It's a penny stock. So being centralized in that context as a business, it's got its advantages, but a form of money does not. Just because layer ones, a lot of them are centralized, I'm not convinced that is inherently bad, and I'm not convinced they will lose the war in that context of layer one. It could, it'll be an interesting race, and that war might be going on for a decade. And it's possible that you have both in existence at 20 years in the future. And, it could be an even mix of what's been successful. There might not ever be a war won. And maybe the war goes on so long that both are surviving and doing okay, both business model types, that the war is never won, but it's just forgotten about. People stop fighting because it's a non-issue, right? Because the war is never won, so let's stop talking about it. All right, good, go home. More war. That could be that could happen too. So anyway, that's Solana. Solana rant. Um, yeah. So Matic and Soul NFT and games. Yeah, and I mean, for now, the way Tron and EOS got through last bear market was to turn their websites, essentially a website on the blockchain, into a casino, an online casino. They're not necessarily trying to be that now. So just because they're a platform right now for NFTs and in games, and let's say NFTs never come back, which let's say I don't think they will. I really don't. They might come back in a different form, but they're not coming back as fucking pictures that people buy. It's not going to happen. Which it makes me feel kind of bad that there are a lot of like Twitter people out there who do their NFT girls and all that stuff, try to make a following. I think that whole space is going to disappear. I kind of feel bad. Yeah, all that effort that those people are putting in, right? I think it's going to be a big waste of time. However, people truly making art, putting it on an NFT, I think that could survive, but it's not going to be some JPEG stupid shit. So so the NFT space could transform into art dealership. So trading art. But I don't think, even if it does survive in that form and various other forms, it's not going to be a fad. And it's not going to be one of the big spaces. It probably won't even be talked about. But it probably, if it came in that form, it's not going to be a hype. It's it won't ever hype like it did this time. Well, it could, but I think the percentage chance of that happening is so low. It's astronomically low, in my opinion. But there's no real way to take the statistics behind it. I don't really thinking it because I've already seen crypto kitties. It was the same thing. Pictures on a blockchain for sale with ownership properties. It's the whole point of it. It happened in 2017, 2018. Ethereum did it. It's already been done. Anyway, but NFT could turn into art dealership and proof of ownership, but Glimmer. Yeah, let's take a look at Glimmer, and then I'm gonna might wrap up after this one. So I have it under my polka sphere there. Ugh. Wow. Um, it's pretty sad looking. I'm not gonna lie. On a percentage basis, though, it's about par for the course. Let's say I think that's the right line. Oh, I would guess it hasn't hit its top yet, and that this is the point of control. It actually looks like it's going to break up. For our RSI saying this could be a setup for a lower high though, or a higher high with bearish divergence, and it doesn't kite. But I mean, this channel is saying it's got a damn decent chance of coming up to this wick low here. It's got a chance. It's got a darn good chance actually. I don't know. I think if this were Bitcoin, I would say it's very likely going to do that. That would be equivalent to about a 25K Bitcoin. That's kind of my upper target anyway. So it looks like it's going to pierce $1. If Bitcoin were to hit 25K, this is going to pierce $1, $3, $5, somewhere around there. That would be where it goes. However, I think crypto and even traditional markets are at risk of a lower high. So it could, if you see that happen, then it enters back into the zone. It's probably done. But the rally would be over on this, and you'd be able to see it on Bitcoin as well. But under the conditions that the move isn't done yet, I would say $1.02 to around $1.03. This is going. All right, rock and roll. So thanks everybody for being here. I'm gonna keep these at 6 p.m. We'll get back. We'll be back on Tuesday. Or we'll see you on Tuesday, New York time, 6 p.m. And then it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. I plan on keeping these slots. And again, the channel members, I try to skip to their questions first, and then try to get to other questions as we go along. But I have enough community members who join these where I typically spend the whole hour and a half. I guess I'm making these hour and a half now, but on accident. But usually it fills up most of the time. So just keep that in mind. I do focus on those questions and